let's see, is this working? Yeah, okay. Alrighty, sorry about that. I promise I did not just hit like stop streaming. I with frustration. I did not. My internet died. Believe me, you would know if I had. Because I have to very deliberately look over. Oh, I'm not talking to you or anyone here. I'm talking to people who might watch my VOD. Don't worry. And that's fine. I'm fine with ending the topic. Because anybody who might just see that, because I can't put it into my computer is not that good as far as being able to put things back together into one piece. So it'll say part 1 and part 2. Anyway, point being, kitty cat. Kitty cat, no, no, no. And he's now sure I'm just so mad at him. And I'm not. My baby is a good boy. Except for when he's on the desk. Then he's not a good boy. Yep, Suna is needing confirmation that he's not the bad boy. Because he's not. He's not a bad boy. He's a good boy. Well, maybe he is a bad boy because he loves his mom. Anyway, point being, going back to, I just enjoy the game. Let me think. What do I want to do here? I was trying to decide the color for this room. Because I don't want it to be too... this is going to clash. I'm going to want something a little different, but... well, not the roof, necessarily. But I want something that doesn't clash... Well, I mean... clash with this, at least. What? No, this was literally the, continuation of the one house that we were doing the other day. Or other day, as in, like, 2 weeks ago. See? Look, it's this room. Kitty cat! Kitty cat, 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 kitty cat, cat, kitty cat, cat. Mooch. Mooch. Vavooch. I know, you don't understand. You're like, why are you so mad? It's like, I wasn't mad at you. No. 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 I have no specific plans for this place. No, the theme was comfort. It doesn't have to specifically be oranges and browns. Psh, good for you, Stream Elements. You do nothing else, even though I've tried to make you work. But you can do that. Anyway. I don't even know if it shows. Yep, I am back. Obviously. It's a good thing I have a Discord. At the very least I can put out there, it's just like, yeah, internet died. Completely. I mean, because, you know, the people who are on there will know, at least I guess. But yeah, it's like, thanks, Stream Elements. I tried doing several of the things that they recommend doing, because they do have a chat bot, clearly, you know? It's like, oh yeah, you can do shout-outs through Stream Elements. I'm like, great. I try to do the custom commit. Nope. 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 I'll figure it out eventually, but it's like, nope. Alright, I'm thinking that I want this space actually to be a little bit more... almost... or would it be under... what about gradient set? Is there any blues under here that would be good? I do wish, like, I could figure out what I've done wrong there. Alright, thinking this color. Well, see, this is just the main hall, so I was actually thinking I might do something a little bit bluer. Oh yeah. But a good color of blue also does that. Remember, I am an artiste to some extent. I'm being silly, but I want it to be something that can look okay from every room. Kind of like this. Because, well, it's just kind of the shade. Like, I'm doing more warm colors on the inside of each room, but I do think I kind of like the idea of having a more, for the hall specifically. Because it's a calm color. Yes, warm colors give... Personally, I think that blue is a color that is suitable for corridors because it is a calming color. And you don't want too much of one color either. Because it can... It doesn't necessarily... it can have its own detriments for each color, kind of, or like... How do I put it? So, for example, like, yellow, but you can feel overstimulated with too much yellow. And see, this blue is nice for the backdrop of that as well. Same with oranges. Oranges and yellows and a lot of warm colors can make you be a little too overstimulated if you have too much. Remember, this isn't just any comfort, it's my comfort, right? That was the idea that I had to go with. And I have to take into account that I'm an Aspie. That's what you told me to do last time. I'm just continuing the prompt. I haven't offered to do a new prompt. Nobody wanted to, so I've just been continuing it. But see, the blue isn't too much, since it's the main hall, and it's going to have other pictures and things around as well. The idea is the blue is just simply put, yeah. I just followed the instructions. But I tend to stick to what I'm doing, so, again, I feel like I should probably search. I need a little bit more paint. But it's not going to all just be blue. As I said, there's going to be paintings and stuff that help break things up. And then I'd want to do a lighter shade of blue probably up here. That might, just due to the fact that, or potentially even the cyan. As you can see, it just kind of naturally just is. Yep. Oh yeah. No, I always do. I am a very... When I say I am at least somewhat artistic. I mean, obviously the other two being... Yeah, but... I mean... And it's not exactly about being all different colors. It's about different spaces having different things. Yellow is a very stimulating color. It's good for thought. It's good for when you're trying to do something like read, or write, or draw. So that's why the office has a lot of yellows. Orange can help. I don't remember what it exactly is, but it's good kitchen color, basically. I'll probably paint my bedroom purple. Because my bedroom's purple in real life. I mean, there's not really much thought put into that one, but you know. I like purple-ish. I mean, it's not my favorite color, but I like it for a room color. Guest rooms will probably have a more simple coloring scheme. As you can see, the other thing is you're going from in here, if you're coming from the car, into a room that's more blue. And again, I'm also going for when it's framed. That's why I picked this color specifically. It's got to be a color that can match well with these spaces. And in theory, I got to come up with the one that goes in here as well. But that's kind of the idea. I mean, yeah, an off-white color can be good. After all, it's a blander color. It is going to be a lot easier. Rooms that I'm not going for as much as possible, by the way, would be pink. White stuff, like, one color stifles thoughts. Maybe it's not always a bad thing, but like I said, I'm not trying to do this about so for example, this room might be a lighter color, not because I specifically think, but I think that for a guest room, especially on the ground floor, which is kind of what I'm thinking of doing there. I mean, I could make it into a living room as well, but I have this. Oh, no, no, no. No, pink is a bad color because if you're exposed to pink for too long, you can be rage-induced and anger. At first, it's a calm color. It seems like a color that would be good for being calm and, like, short. But that's only really in short bursts. It's not really good for, like, long-term. Gotta love color. Sorry. I know way too much about this kind of stuff. I mean, like I said, I don't even... Yep, we're going with this one. For 2 reasons, actually. Hey, black's not a bad color. Like I said, it's not about... No, I don't disagree. I actually agree black is a good color. That's fine. Anyway, like I said, there's 2 different reasons to pick this color. One, like I said, my room actually is purple-ish. I mean, I don't know if you'd actually call it purple, but it's purple-ish in real life. And 2, I'm gonna be honest, I actually quite like the gemstone this is named after. Tanzanite. It's quite pretty. A subcategory of tanzanite called zoisite is extremely pretty, especially, which is what that one's almost akin to, although it would be a more bluish tone if it was a zoisite instead of tanzanite specifically. But it can be that color purple in zoisite too, it's typically a slightly bluer purple. Don't ask me why I know this. I don't know. I might have. I've mentioned that I have a little gemstone book that I got years ago, and it made me interested in gemstones. And it was interesting to learn all sorts of different things, like I said, the whole thing with the tanzanite versus the... Where it's like, no, this is a subcategory of this, but it also technically has its own name. What do you think you're doing, Mr. Fluffy Butt? What do you think you're doing, Mr. Fluffy Butt? Come on. No, you don't want to come out for that. No, back to the old faithful. Fair enough. Go on. Go on. honestly soon as lucky that I was not still in, not in like the collecting and being like, yeah, fair enough. I got a couple amethyst things. I mean, I think for obvious reasons, but. Yeah, you go over there. You go over there. You put it there. Well, actually, maybe not. Well, I'd like to assume that people would assume that there's a decent chance I'd have purple, or amethyst at least. I guess. But yeah, amethysts are pretty. There's some really interesting ones out there that are, quite pretty, that are just like, I mean, nobody even thinks of. You know, you got people who think of the big things like diamonds and sapphires, but it's like, yeah, those are cool, but those are just like, I mean, they're fancy, but they're not also intriguing. They'll also be fancy if you really want to go there. Well, I wasn't talking about amethysts. I mean, amethysts are another one that people put in like the big group. So, along with like, so I'm gonna turn around and say no. I didn't mean amethyst. I like amethyst. Amethyst is my birthstone, after all. But no, I was referring to some. There's some really interesting ones out there to see that definitely people aren't going to necessarily think of, like jet or celadon and stuff. Super cool looking, but not necessarily something you'd even think of as a stone. Is more like what I'm referring to. People think of amethyst as a gemstone. Notice. Oh yeah, opals are absolutely gorgeous. I don't disagree. I think I'm trying to remember. Opals are which month are they? But again, they do fall under the birthstone thing, so they are acknowledged as gemstones to at least a decent proportion of the kind of thing. It's I mean, it doesn't really matter overall. Like I said, I like what I like. And I think opals are gorgeous. Especially like when you get like a fire opal and stuff. Those are just super cool. I know I had a bracelet ages back. Oh yeah, no, I do agree. Alexandrite is quite pretty. Another one that I think is really gorgeous is tourmalines. Again, it's one I think is on the edge of what people think of, but like tourmalines are cool. Especially like the watermelon tourmaline, you know? Those are just neat. And pretty. And like I said, you got like jet, you got which is a black stone, effectively, although I think it starts out as I've got, like I said, I have my little old book actually like right next to here. It's interesting to start learning from there. Obviously, you learn more things afterward. But and this is where I think it's important. You never know what you're gonna find because there's so many different things out there. All right, so I was thinking was do I have cyan on here? I don't think I do. I think I gotta go back to gradient satin. So you got the blues. I guess one of these. How's powder blue look? It's a little much. True. Well, that's my point. I'm not saying that it's... I'm just saying it is... There's a lot of stuff out there where you might not even think of it. Heck, I would go with there's some really unique things with them. Heck, even the Tanzanite thing. Because they're so... They are actually not... because of the nature of them, they're not like in the forefront of like people's minds kind of thing. Let's see. I think that actually looks nice. But like, that's kind of honestly where I am mostly left with, is that I like to see stuff like that and learn more about it. But, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see more. Oh yeah, no, that's true. Like I said, well actually, even as, I'm pretty sure a birthstone, Jade isn't as... But I do think that they can be quite beautiful. I'm not gonna deny that. Heck, even something like... It's basically coral. I think it is coral. I'd have to look at it, but it... Gorgeous. Beautiful. And heck, I mean... When you're getting into all of the, like, the subcategories of gems and things, there's some really, unique ones out there. Heck, I mean, definitely not a gemstone exactly, but... Fair enough. The only reason I even know that it can even be a thing, again, was the book. Which actually had several pieces it showed. It was quite pretty. But it's definitely not going to be something you think of. There we go. Separating the up and down. But in a way that it doesn't look funky. Okay. Well, you might not agree, but... Heck, I mean... There's all sorts of things when you learn that it's actually a thing. It's like, what the heck is that? Out there. Heck, a stone that I don't think a lot of people really know much of, or would think of, but it is gorgeous. That's true. But I was gonna, the one I was gonna mention, which I do think is quartz based as well, but is azurite. If you've ever seen that, that is just, like, incredible. Because it's effectively like a black stone with threads of green and blue and all sorts of stuff. Or, well, colors. Well, it's just basically greens and blues, but it's quite something. Maybe from me naming a chicken that or something. Because our chicken died that had that name. Yep, azurite is copper. Exactly. But it makes a beautiful stone. That's why I'm using it as an example. Interesting. But they're quite pretty. I mean, that's the thing. That you would not even necessarily expect from it. Because, yeah, it's basically colored by copper. They look cool. And have just a certain level of just... I don't know how to explain it. But, yeah. fair enough. Like I said, it's super cool. They tend to be black in appearance with the stripes of color. Not all of them are, but you do have a decent number that are like that. At least I don't think all of them. I think there is a decent, or maybe it is. I could be misremembering. It is basically all of them are that black, with the lines, because it's basically just cracks of copper. But they did. But no, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Heck, I mean, even pyrite, when you smooth it out, makes quite the gemstone, quote unquote. It's very, it does look very much like onyx, actually. At least the ones I've seen and looked up and all that. Except obviously the coloration is more, it's almost like, if Onyx decided that they were like, they started listening to alt rock and they just like, this, man, how do I put this? Like, I'm not saying this in a bad way, mind you, but basically they just, one day they wake up and they're like, you just don't understand. Yeah, the dad is Onyx. And Azurite is the teenager that goes, you just don't understand me. No one understands me. But not in a bad way. More like in a, it weirdly looks nice. And they'll one day use that for good. Yeah, kinda, exactly. But like I said, it's a, well, I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's that shocking that that's the case. Although in reality, I'd argue to some extent, it's not just because of the obvious, necessarily. But also potentially just, to some extent, it was. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, you got the obvious answer of, they all felt, they're all like, oh, but beyond that, I think, well, it was a fad, and like most fads, eventually, it will just fade. Not saying there aren't going to be people who are like that. And that's not, or anything like that, but I will say for the majority of people, obviously, they move on to new things because, well, I hate to say it, but a lot of them really were kind of, well, goths were. I'm not going to deny it. I think the biggest issue for emo kids, if you will, not all of them, mind you, let me be clear, but I would say a decent number of them just kind of, I feel like part of the problem was just, they kind of just wanted attention. And after some point, people just stopped giving that attention, so they moved on to other things to try and get attention. I mean, I'm just going to say, there are the certain people online who, I'm not specifying anyone, let me be clear, but those that can't handle anything, where they try to find some sort of specific status, and they're clearly not. I'm not saying everyone. I think the thing is, it's like, I do agree that is the thing for any subculture. No, it's true. You're going to want a sense of belonging stuff. But there is a certain level of, at the same time, going basic. I feel like there's a difference between, for example, uh, let's use like a fan, like Undertale as an example. Not in a negative way, mind you. Although I know there's negative parts of the fandom there, of that fandom. But what I would say is, I don't feel like the people there, I mean, yes, they want attention and recognition of others, but they're not going out of their way to go, look, I'm writing songs and poetry and all that about how I fantasize jumping off a building or whatever. There's a certain level of desire for attention that, weirdly enough, was not the same, I would say. I don't know about pretentious. Threatening? I would say, for most fandoms, groups, whatever, for the actual group, mind you, I feel like I should specify that, but and not those who decide to hijack whatever, and may even hate it themselves, kind of thing. But for the most part, you'll see there's a certain level of just... Except it wasn't just non-aggressive in that way. A lot of their stuff, really was, if you don't pay attention to me, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that. And I'm not saying that everyone was. But there was a certain level of that in that group that you don't really get in a lot of other places like that. Especially being very loud and vocal. Except it kind of is. It's saying, if you don't pay attention to me, that means that you let me do this to myself. If you look at it. It seems like it's not threatening or whatever, but it kind of is. And again, I'm not saying that's everybody. Heck, that might not even have been most of them. But there really was a decent number of people who were like that. And then they kind of grew up, and then it just... That's kind of where I look at it. I'm not saying that they're just... I'm looking at it from the whole point of view of... screaming it from the rooftops, if you will, at anybody and everybody who is anywhere, whether they're... It's that kind of thing to look at. It's not that it's exactly... Possibly. But, like I said, I think the biggest issue with it is just simply put, the fact of the matter is, they, well, sometimes really would do it, because they believe it. And the thing is, I look at it and I say, I do see other groups that kind of are filling that role of look at me or else, somewhat, and I'm just kind of left with, and that's where they went. And again, not everybody. I feel like I need to specify this very, very clearly. In fact, not most. We'll go there. The fact is, it's like... I don't know, I think the biggest thing is, it really is that, yeah. They're just kind of being kind of spoiled. They're being not terribly dignified. Nope, they're just... Exactly. And see, that's the thing. It's that kind of thing, exactly. We can go with that one. The fact of the matter is, it leads to more and more negativeness. And see, here's the thing that I honestly do not agree with. Exactly. Nowadays, people would just say, we'll just send them to therapy. They just obviously need therapy. But the thing is, if you go to the therapy, unless you actually have someone even cares at all, you'll just be filled with... Oh, yeah. I'm just kind of left with, it's like, you're going to get a lot more people who are just going to end up on, drugs and things because, well, they're in that group, whether they actually felt that way or not. And now, well, they don't really know their solution, if you will. So that's kind of where I look at it. And yeah, goths are fine. The irony is, it's like, you get a different issue with goths. One that actually has affected me. Ironically. It's not necessarily an issue, it's just a... It's not so much a story, it's more like, if you say that you like the colors black and red, people immediately assume, oh, you just like that because you're a goth or not, by the way, into that kind of thing. Me, for example, I like black. I actually do. The reason I like black is because I was in orchestra and those sorts of things. Orchestra, at the end of the day, you wear a lot of black. You get more used to that kind of color. It's pretty much how it goes. But people like to make assumptions. And that's really all there is to it. It's not that it's an overly negative thing. That's why I'm being very specific here of, it's a different issue and it's not as big of an issue. It just does get a little annoying. Exactly. Well, let me beyond being stylish or practical or anything, like I said, if you're in orchestra long enough, the colors you'll see a lot, black because you're being the background, and red because that's how you stand out the best. Those are the two colors. It really is how it kind of goes out. You might wear other colors or whatever, but the thing is, as an orchestra member, in general rule, you're not going to be wearing anything other than black. So you're going to have closets full of black clothes. Not because it's stylish either. I'm not complaining. It's pretty expected of most, actually, I'm not going to say 100%, because obviously there's those that are all white orchestras or whatever, but a decent portion of orchestras, choirs, and the like, if you're in music, you're going to be expected to wear, if you're a girl, you'll either be wearing a black dress, or you'll be wearing a white blouse with a black skirt. If you're a guy, you're wearing a tux. No questions. If you're in orchestra, specifically. Or rather, if you're not. The only time you might not be wearing the standard tux. I say tux, it's more like a suit. It's a suit. You're wearing your suit. You wear a fancy suit if you're a guy, typically, or something else if you're a soloist. And if you're a girl, you'll wear a bright color. That's how you stand out. See? Orchestra. Same whole... more along the lines of an orchestra, because choir can be a little bit more spread out. But especially in orchestras. But there is a reason for that, and it's not just because It's because you aren't meant to be the big thing that's being focused on. If you're playing in the orchestra, the music is. That should be the top thing. I didn't say that. That's why I specified most specifically when I was going to. I was like, it can be orchestras too, but it's typically, or rather, it can be choirs too, but it is most typically orchestras. And yes, choirs can be themed, but that's why I'm using a specific type of very classical. You tend to get into the classical kind of thing and stuff. Quite pretty. Music and all that. Exactly. Alright. But that's just kind of how you tend to go. So you're more likely to fill your closet with things that can be worn on a general basis. Like, well, if you're going to be outside in the middle of winter, you tend to realize how to get tights, for example, that are kind of, sort of very thick. Just going to fill that spot. But, I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. I'm just saying, yeah, people like to assume that you're being very edgy if you're like, oh, I like these colors. And that's kind of more like, yeah. Ironically, I didn't even wear that much. But I did definitely, and I mean, even nowadays, I especially do have more dark clothing. Not that I'm specifically trying to, again, be... It's neither that I'm trying to be edgy or hip or anything like that. I'm just... It's practical clothing. Ironically, at this point as well, it's everywhere. I don't think anybody would make that assumption about me nowadays, though. Considering a lot of my, my shirts. Considering a lot of my shirts and things have, like, something, like, I have Zelda shirts. Huh? Oh, no. All the anime and games and stuff sprawled across it. A lot of my stuff is more like that. Not all of it. I still have some stuff that's more... But, I mean... I'm not going to deny that I'm super nerdy. That I'm a Zelda fan. That I like Zelda. Or whatever. I'll be honest. My favorite pin that I ever had... I think would annoy a lot of people. Honestly, though, I think it's pretty dumb that it's kind of... The real irony is that it's like the series that people are... It's acceptable to like, kind of thing. I'm still not in that group. No, not Homestuck. For me, for example, of just like, yeah, no, people just go, right, you're one of those people. It's because I like a lot of isekai. I just do. I enjoy it. A lot of them are pretty fun. Not all of them are turn your brain off. Actually, most of them aren't. At the end of the day. I mean, there's plenty of them that are, but you can usually find those that aren't. But see, that's the basically the current version of, like, what manga was, like, 10 years ago. So I guess that means the isekai will be super popular in, like, 10 years. Like, actually super popular. Oh, yeah. Like, every single time, like... I think Sword Art Online is fine. But it's not isekai. It's what started people going, oh, this is the trope of an isekai. But the irony is technically... It's not actually one. At the end of the day... It's only in a slight technicality one. And I'd go there and say, yeah, no, it is an isekai. Except at this point, like, especially going back, like, the only ones I'd really go to that point and say that actually is the case, that it's that far in, I would go with Progressive is kind of like that, and I'd go with, the Alicization arc and onward kind of is like that. But for most of the art, like, especially the beginning where it started, it doesn't really feel like an isekai. It isn't presented in that way in at all. Well, it's not that the title itself, it's that people look at that title and go exactly to the whole point of, yeah. Well, I'll be honest. Shield Hero. Before it even got an anime, I was already reading the light novels. Honestly, I got annoyed at the anime, and then people actually got annoyed at season 2, but I still like the original light novel series. / web novel. I think it's fun. I just think it's annoying that they continue to skip arcs in the anime. That's where I'm left with. But I know a lot of people find it very controversial. But ironically not for the reasons that I do. I'm just like, they cut one of the most important arcs for establishing one of the characters. Like I said, the manga's okay. The manga does not go in as in depth as the light novel. So that would probably be like arc 5 or 6. That's like book... I think that's book 7 in the light novels, and I don't remember what chapter it is versus the web novel. I read farther than that. They got some... It goes back and forth, but... So if you've read the manga enough... Well, I don't know. The manga did cover enough. So, you would know... So think of it like this. So here's what annoyed me. 1, they effectively cut out Eclair for a decent portion of her early on role. You know how she's introduced and she's shown to be, well, beyond just being really cool, it's just like an interesting character that will clearly have yeah, that's way later in the series. Eclair shows up like book 2. In the manga, it's like right after Naofumi gets a pardon. But see, this is before that bit. This is straight up the island arc that happens before that. They cut that basically from the anime. They cut that. They cut Eclair being the beginning of like the Sword Heroes event. Well, I guess technically downfall, but eventual rise later on. She's heavily. You're obviously getting heavily foreshadowed that her character is going to be important, but they don't really explain why then and then later. But point being, they basically cut her out. They cut out Rishia's whole storyline and her whole reason why she joins the Shield Hero group. You know, the whole she was gonna unalive herself. That was removed. No, they didn't do that. That's later. Huh? Oh, no. Like I said, it was before that they started cutting things. They didn't cut that. No. They cut the arc before that one. In which they go to the island to start working on leveling up. And, like I said, Rishia, her whole storyline that starts out, you know? The kind of important bit as to why she joins this group and all that. They basically just skipped all of that. They also skipped the explanation for the arc of going to why they... Point being... Because the Otherworld bit, that's after the... Actually, no, the Turtle arc comes before that. The one that's before the Turtle arc, I believe. Where they're trying to level up some, basically. They cut that arc. Which I thought was really weird, because it's like, out of all the arcs to cut, that one's kind of important, because it is setting up... Well, one, it's one of the few places where they really do set up that the Spear Hero isn't completely just scum and a bad guy. He's just stupid and doesn't understand women. But yeah, that was her. That was her. They cut her whole reason for joining the team, where the bow hero abandons her and she basically is gonna herself. Spear Hero stops her, but he doesn't know what to do. And so he's just basically like, please, help, please. To some extent. Like I said, it's one of the few places where the Spear Hero is not just shown as a, well, you know. And shown more of the whole, he just doesn't understand. Which makes sense. I mean, you know, considering the whole thing of why he's there is because he, kind of, well, whatever. I don't know how to, I don't think that was actually in the anime. Or not the anime, the manga, where they explain how they each ended up there. And that Naofumi was the weirdo one, or the odd one out, where he didn't, get murdered. The point being, I just kind of, like, I actually like that kind of series, you know? I enjoy it. I don't care about the world having different, like... Well, it's not that one specifically. I wasn't saying that one specifically. I was meaning more along the lines of people look at that one, they go, power fantasy. They look at most isekai, they go, it's just a power fantasy one. Whenever they decide there's a good one, it's the exception. And I'm just like, it's not an exception. There's an actual decent number of good ones. That's more like what I meant. People have their issues with it, but they don't, like, one of the big issues with the Shield Hero anime, I'm going with the anime specifically, this is why I'm using this as an example. Oh no, I don't disagree, I'm just saying, obviously in like, hey, I'll turn around and say something else that's apparently controversial. Fairy Tail I just think is actually a good series. With a pretty well thought out power system that it kind of sticks to the entire series. Shockingly enough. Oh yeah, no, I do agree. It's stupid. That's my point. I don't care about people going power fantasy this, blah 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 that. I like those series. I think they're fun. Some of them could get a little annoying, but usually those are the ones where they really didn't have anything else going on. Or they're clearly blatantly copying something else. Like, I see people going goo goo gaga over solo leveling, and I'm like, it's okay. But a lot of it's just kind of, well, it's been done better in other series. But I guarantee anyone that looks at any of the other series, though, I actually... No. See, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Fairy Tail is not liked. What I'm saying is, I actually think that the story is actually... I like the whole storyline as it is. I don't feel like there's any specific, like... I don't feel like it's just power of friendshiping it. There's lots of explanations throughout the whole series. That's my take. That is, for some reason, seems to be controversial. They explain literally, like, early on that most people in Fairy Tail, their magic specifically is emotionally driven. So, if they're getting hyped up or whatever, it's not just power of friendship, it's their emotions are going overdrive. Their magic is going into overdrive. It is pretty well... It kind of thing. I just... That's my take. I honestly think it makes a lot of sense that under a stressful situation where the more of their friends that are getting injured or whatever, they're gonna get angrier, right? Their powers are... And heck, I mean... Here's one that apparently... I think that it's like... It's the kind of thing where I'm like, I actually think... I mean... Gate. I mean, Gate wasn't bad. Gate was fine. Like I've said before, I don't think that those things are bad. And I think Gate's fine. I'm pretty sure most people had more issues with the one girl who, in all honesty... I still am left with, so why? Are they more like super, you know, the, Milty? No. But, I mean, it was a fun series. It was interesting. Weirdly enough, the anime is nowhere near as gory as the manga. And that might be part of, like, where it's, like, if you were to read the manga, it definitely, Oh, no, it wasn't bad. What I was saying is it's, like, I don't think it's edgy exactly, although I will say the anime definitely tones it down quite a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean it. From the manga, and the manga tones it down from, I'm pretty sure there's a light novel. If there's not, well, manga definitely just... Point being, if they're talking about the anime is just, like, kind of bleh. In comparison, as far as, like, edginess. It's not bad. It's just, like, it's not really that edgy. And stuff. And yeah, the whole concept was pretty realistic. They didn't just... And it's not even like it's the only series that's ever done that. I mean... As I've said before, I'm a bit of a manga snob. So, I mean... Whenever I see people getting super excited about an anime, and I'm just like... I've either already dropped that series, or I'm, like, super far ahead, and I'm just disappointed by the anime. Because I'm just like... Oh, I don't disagree. I'm just saying, I know a lot of people consider, well, maybe not a lot. I've known people who consider it to be, and by known, I've seen videos. People will literally make, they will say it's super, it's just like, it's toned down. It's honestly fine. And the irony is, series like that, series like Gate, series like Shield Hero, those are the series where people, including me, are like, what do you mean it's getting an anime? Really? Because it's like, there's no way that they're gonna do that. I'm still shocked that they did Shield Hero. And then out of all the things they cut out was, one of the you know, here's one thing I'm going to say about the Shield Hero one that I find crazy weird, by the way, just going back to that for a second. So, out of all the things they could cut, right? It's basically the first introduction of one of their coolest female characters. Kind of thing, you know? Who just is like, does not take crap, kind of thing and all that. And from what I remember, yeah, no, her whole character is quite interesting. So, I don't know. I mean, fair enough, yeah. Once they open the floodgates, they open the floodgates. It's kind of crazy what they do now. But even then, I know there's going to be series that probably will never get anime. Thank you. That will probably not get, like, anime, stuff. Kind of thing. Or get an anime. Simply put, because it's just not that, whether it be, how do I put this? Whether it be because the series is just not that big, or the series is just not finished, although apparently even that's no longer an issue. Truly finished in a proper way. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying some of the ones that I do super enjoy. I'm not going to pretend, or I have enjoyed. I'm not going to pretend that that's going to get an anime. Probably not. Maybe it'll get, one of them, like, let's be real. I highly doubt there's going to be an anime of, I'm really not that it's even, that's lackey. Because there's just, I mean, there is action. Hot girls and all that jazz, but the main focus is, well, not that. It's a good series, it's just, well, it's not gonna get anything. And if it does, I will be impressed. I can't believe this. There's actually this out here. Again, this could have been amazing. No, it's not. It's a Chinese, okay. Webcomic, and there might be I don't know if there's a web novel or not. Specifically, it could be, but basically, it's an isekai. It's not your traditional isekai. Although it is more, it's not mainstream, if you will, but it's closer to being like that nowadays than it was. It's still not, though. But basically, dude, he isekais. I mean, he becomes the owner of a bookstore. That's what he wants. Because he basically, he's sent to another world in return for his wish. His wish was to own every book. Because that's just how he is. But, throughout the series, like, basically he'll give someone a book that he sees one book, but they're given a different book. But it's definitely not Shosha. That would be quite something if it was. Oh, no. I mean more along the lines of just, like, it's more along the lines of just kind of, like, it's a series that's, heck, another one I really enjoyed. It just never got finished. Or, well, I guess technically it is completed. They declared it complete, but it's like halfway through a fight. Which one? The one I was just, do you mean the one that, it's like, okay, for the one I was saying about the Isekai bookseller Chinese one, I believe the English title is basically something along the lines of, because I'm not looking at it. Yeah. Alright. Well, basically, okay, it's, trying to remember, it's something like, I'm really not the evil god's lackey, or something along those lines, basically. I'm not looking at the exact title, and it's one of those ones that it's very precise. Type it in wrong, you get a different series. I'm not saying it won't get one, I'm just saying it's one that I don't feel like it'd be very likely. It might even be super popular. Probably is. I mean, it's been going for over 100 chapters. But I just don't feel like it's the kind of thing that would translate well. I mean, you get plenty of action scenes throughout everyone but the main character, typically. That could be it. There's about 15 different titles, so that I have seen it under. And it's never the same one. It's not that it's good or it's bad. In my view. I actually think it's decent. Finding translations is heck, though. Official or otherwise. It could be that one. But basically, yeah, he's a bookstore owner that recommends books, and every time he gives them a book, it's not the book that he thinks he's giving them. It's one of those ones where it's like the guy, he looks like to everyone else, they're like, he's thought of everything, da-da-da, and he's just like, huh? Or has no idea, basically. It's a good series, like I said. It's a fun one. I don't think it would translate as well as it could. But it's honestly quite a bit of fun. And I'm not going to stop reading it just because it's not going to get one. Ironically for me, I actually... Oh yeah. Yep, that's her. That's the one. It doesn't look like it's any good, especially from chapter 1. But it's really crazy. It gets stupid fun. Especially since he's basically not involved with the, it's like, so the B plot's what you would normally assume would be the A plot, and the A plot is the B plot, if you will, you know? Kind of thing. Him being the main character, the plot must rely, or, not always, but it oftentimes revolves around him. Occasionally it doesn't. There are a couple chapters. But in the end, it somehow still loops back to him. I mean, yeah. But the funny thing is, like, is then they'll go to the next scene, even if he's got this, and then you'll see he's not really posing for sometimes. Sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. That's the thing that's really funny sometimes with it, because he'll be like, ah, I was expecting you. Obviously, he's just like trying to explain why he has 2 cups of tea. They're like, how did he know that I was coming? It's like, he didn't. And like later in the series, there's even a moment, same vampire girl, or I guess you could say, she's not really a vampire, well, the best explanation is a semi-mutant by choice. But basically she comes later, or there's a later time when she arrives, and he's being silly, he's like making special tea, and he gets an assistant eventually. He just tells the assistant, well, I'm preparing it for for a guest that will arrive. Obviously, in reality, he just wants the tea, but he doesn't want to seem like he's just wasting money. But then, elf girl there, as you put it, she's not really an elf. There are actual elves, but she arrives and she's like, she sees the cup of tea and she's like, how did he know I was coming? And it's just like, he didn't. Kind of. Very much so. Especially since there'd be things like, because he doesn't think of this new world as a different world in that way. She tells him her problems. He thinks she's just been cheated on. She's not actually been cheated on. She's nearly been killed. If done properly, but that's my point. I don't think it could be. Because the whole point is that he is clueless, but that no one can tell that he's clueless. Like I said, he's like, I see you have a problem, because she's obviously like fidgeting, reacting and stuff. She's like, how did you know? She goes through this whole thing. He assumes she's being cheated on, rather. So he gives her advice for dumping the cheater. And but that advice gets used instead to take the person that tried to kill her out eventually, basically. And I guess it's kind of spoilery, but not really. They make it clear that's going to happen. She's clearly a main customer, I guess. Main character isn't the exact wording I'd use, because, like, any scene she's in that's not at the bookstore is typically no longer than, like, 2 or 3 seconds worth of, like, she might be, like, 2 or 3 minutes worth of dialogue in an anime. Oh, yeah. I do agree. It's an interesting one. But his whole point is he just wants to help people out. The only thing is he has no idea that their situations are supernatural ones and not psychological ones or more real world ones for our real world. So that's kind of where it shines its best. Like, he'll give advice because he thinks one thing because of how they're describing it. And it does make sense that he would assume that because you take into account. He's not understanding. He really doesn't seem to understand the whole idea of, like, there's a scene where an elf shows up and he thinks she's a cosplayer because the concept of an elf existing is just ludicrous. It doesn't even occur to his mind. It doesn't even occur to him that she might actually be an elf. Exactly. It would be the reverse of that, where he's trying to help them with their everyday issues, and they're trying to exercise an evil spirit kind of thing. But yes, it's that kind of idea. It actually works really well that way, and yeah, he does his dramatic posing and stuff because he's trying to... Well, actually, he doesn't even try... a lot of the time, it's not even, like, dramatic posing. Like, it'll show... that's true, if it works, it works. It'll show from, her perspective, she's seeing this super, pose, but he really might just be sitting with his head on his hands, just sitting thinking about something or other. It's what really makes it work best, is the fact that he's not always... sometimes he does a dramatic pose-ish, but it's usually to emphasize something. Most of his poses, if you will, slash whatever, is whatever they're seeing him as, whereas in reality, he's just doing whatever. Like, he'll even have scenes where they're like, he's glaring at me so menacingly, he must be angry at me. Then it flips over to him, he has like this, well, just, he's got a little smile, he's just like, I wonder what they're thinking about. I wonder if everything's worked out well for them, kind of thing. Like, there's nothing there. But it's a good series. But it's one of those ones where it's like, it's very, very delicate, and a lot of... It's very much the talk no jutsu, with like, every now and then like 4 or 5 minutes of action kind of thing. And then you have like a huge action scene like near the end of an arc. But obviously he's barely. Exactly. That is exactly how it works. Another example is he gets a gift, and that gift is in something that people associate with the dark wizards and stuff. So there are people who are like, oh, he must have this. It's just like, it was a gift, and he just thinks it's a nice gift. Huh. Interesting. I can make this into a full space. It seems a little wrong to do that, though. You know what? How un-PC of them. This is where I really say, yeah, this is totally the same game. Honest. The same team. Exactly. The comedy of misunderstandings. It looks like it's not, but it really is. And it's what makes it excellent. But not really a suitable anime kind of thing. But, you know, who knows? Maybe it would get one anyway. Okay, that's weird. The windows have X-ray vision. But that's the kind of idea. I mean, another series like that as well that I've enjoyed. I mean, there's a zillion tower fantasy ones. If you're willing to read those. See? Magic. No, I didn't say that it doesn't prevent it. I'm just saying, looking at what they're trying to focus on nowadays, it doesn't feel like one that they probably do. And another thing I'd say is that hey, maybe in like 5 years, it'd be interesting to see if they finally start doing some tower fantasy stuff. Because those go crazy hard. But I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, this protagonist is just overpowered. It's just like, are they? Are they? Heck, like, oh, I know one that will never just, I guess from its name. It'd be interesting to see them, how they translate that one. No, I do agree. But, like, one that I'd love to see get an anime, but I feel like the English title, or one of the many English titles it can have, might get in its way. Let's just say it's called, like, SSS, Unalive, but not Unalive, and matches up with the 3 S's. Hunter. Because the guy, he gains the ability, he dies, he goes back a day. Hey, no, I honestly, I like One Punch Man. I think it's also super cool with the manga, the webcomic to manga. I mean, when, yeah, I know, but I mean, it's like, it's one of those things. It's like the artist in question, who is the artist for the manga. The coolest bit is he just was like, okay, this needs to get recognition, and so he basically just became the artist. Which is why it's stylistically like, if you ever seen Ice Shield Hero or Ice Shield 21, like that's the thing. Like I was like, ooh boy. Unironically, that was the thing for me. I was super confused. I was like, this art feels familiar. Fair enough. I do need to finish. There's a lot of good ones out there. I don't think most of them will get anime. Not because they're. I'm just gonna say because there's so many series out there. That's the real answer. That's part of why I say I don't see the one I mentioned getting one. Just simply put, not because it doesn't have potential. Like, yeah, that could be interesting. But simply put, because it's just. Yep, exactly. That's just it. And just like with other things, you should be aiming for your most across the board. Otherwise, you will not reap your investment. You'll at least get your investment back. That's the thing you have to remember. Exactly. Heck, I mean, I still think the most insane thing is the fact that at some point, eventually, they're supposed to, whether it's a full-on reboot or it's a continuation, there is actually supposed to be more KHR. Which, to me, is more shocking just because it's like, I love the series. Like, I really do, but... it's a series that's, been finished for... actually, I think 10 years almost at this point, actually. Makes me feel older than I'd rather be. It could be 10 years, though. It could be 10 years or more. So, yeah. Actually, no, it has to be. Well, I mean, there's a different issue with the Berserk manga continuation versus anime. I mean, let's be real. Just like with Dragon Ball and just like with anything with Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like... the problem is you're going to have where you're going to be hopeful for it. At the same time, you're going to know there's a decent chance it's going to end up crap. Not because it is. It's just like because the thing that always lets me temper my expectations as I look at RWBY. Look at that series. It's like they should have had the notes. They should have had everything. And what did they do? None of it. The only thing that makes there any real actual hope there, I'd say, is because it's Japanese. It's fine. I worked on things here. The whole idea was it was just a chill day. But I do need to finish. Anyway, it's been a pleasure having you. I hope to see you again tomorrow for some Vault Hunters. As I will be doing some more Vault Hunters, which is fun, hopefully. I at least have fun with it. I hope you have a wonderful day / night / whatever the heck it is for you. And thank you for popping in. Thank you for sticking around. And